My friends, let me tell you something. For years, we are taught that kindness is the key, that love, patience, and understanding can heal anything, that if we just love people enough, they'll see the light. But today, I want you to hear me when I say this. Stop being kind to a narcissist. From the time we are young, we are taught that kindness is the answer to everything. That if we are patient enough, loving enough, understanding enough, we can heal even the deepest wounds in others. And for the most part, kindness does have power. It can mend broken relationships, build bridges, and create connections. But there is one painful truth that we often refuse to accept. Kindness does not change someone who does not want to change. A narcissist does not see your kindness as love. They see it as leverage. They take your compassion and use it as a tool to keep you in their cycle, giving, hoping, and waiting for the day they finally wake up and appreciate you. But that day never comes because their world is not built on appreciation. Their world is built on control. The more you give, the more they take. And the moment you stop, they make you feel guilty for it. You tell yourself that if you just love them harder, if you just prove to them how good your heart is, they will finally treat you right. But the truth is, a narcissist already knows how good you are. That's why they chose you. They knew you would be the one to stay, to forgive, to overlook, to shrink yourself, just to keep them comfortable. Your kindness is not a secret to them. It's a weapon they use to keep you in their grasp. Every time you excuse their behavior, every time you let another hurtful comment slide, every time you forgive without change, you are not healing them. You are teaching them that they can continue to hurt you without consequences. And the more you justify their actions, the more they believe they are right. Narcissists do not see kindness as an opportunity for growth. They see it as permission to stay the same. It is not your job to save someone from themselves. You can hold space for people, you can encourage them, but you cannot force them to see what they refuse to see. A narcissist does not need another chance, they need accountability. But accountability requires self-awareness, and that is something they actively avoid. They do not want to look in the mirror, so they use your kindness to shift the blame. Kindness should never come at the cost of your dignity. It should never require you to diminish your worth just to keep someone else happy. Real kindness lifts people up, but with a narcissist, your kindness only serves to keep them exactly where they are, comfortable in their patterns, unchallenged in their toxicity. You are not their savior, and your love is not a magic cure for their unwillingness to change. The hardest part about walking away from a narcissist is not missing them. It's accepting that nothing you did could have ever been enough. You could have given them the sun, the moon, and every ounce of your heart, and it still wouldn't have changed them. Because change doesn't happen through kindness alone. It happens through choice, and that is a choice only they can make. You were never supposed to lose yourself trying to prove your worth to someone who refuses to see it. You were never meant to carry the weight of someone else's inability to love properly. Your kindness is a gift, but it is not a cure. And the moment you understand that, everything changes. At first, it feels good to give. It feels natural even. You see the potential in them, the good moments, the charm they use so effortlessly. You tell yourself that if you just pour enough love, enough patience, enough understanding into them, they will eventually see your worth and reciprocate. But with a narcissist, there is no reciprocation, only consumption. They take your kindness and twist it into expectation. What was once a favor becomes a requirement. What was once a gift becomes their entitlement. And no matter how much you give, it is never enough. They do not stop to appreciate your efforts because in their mind, your efforts belong to them. They believe they deserve your time, your energy, your sacrifice without ever having to earn it. At first, you don't notice how much you are giving. You excuse their behavior, telling yourself they are just going through a rough patch, that they need support, that they don't really mean the things they say. But over time, you begin to feel the weight of it, the exhaustion, the quiet resentment, the slow realization that the love you are giving is not being returned, only expected. You start adjusting yourself to fit their needs. You shrink your opinions so they don't get defensive. You silence your pain so they don't feel guilty. You carry their burdens without question, even as they refuse to carry yours. And the more you give, the more they take, without ever acknowledging the cost. They don't ask if you are tired, if you are struggling, if you need support, because in their world, your needs do not exist. Every boundary you set, they push. Every moment of doubt you have, they dismiss. And when you finally try to pull back to reclaim a little bit of your energy, they accuse you of being selfish, of changing, of abandoning them. They do not see your exhaustion as a sign that something is wrong. They see it as a problem that needs to be fixed, not by them changing, but by you giving more. You tell yourself that if you just hold on a little longer, things will get better, that maybe one day they will realize how much you have done for them and finally give back. But that day never comes, because the truth is a narcissist does not stop taking until you stop giving. As long as you are willing to sacrifice, they will be willing to let you. They will never tell you that you have given enough. They will never step back and say, "You have done so much for me, let me do something for you." Because to them, love is not about balance, it is about control. And as long as you keep pouring into them, they will continue to let you, no matter how empty it leaves you. One day, you wake up and realize that the person you have been fighting for has never been fighting for you, that the love you have given so freely has only been met with expectation, not gratitude. And in that moment, you understand that with a narcissist, giving is not an act of love. It is a bottomless demand, a one-sided transaction, a well that will never be full. Boundaries are not walls. They are the lines that define where you end and someone else begins. They are not punishments, they are protections. Yet, when you are dealing with a narcissist, boundaries feel impossible to maintain. The moment you set one, they push against it. The moment you try to reclaim your space, they make you feel guilty for needing it. And before you know it, your boundaries become something you constantly negotiate instead of something you enforce. A narcissist does not respect boundaries because boundaries limit their control. They see them as a threat, not a necessity. The moment you say, "This is not okay," they either test you to see if you mean it or manipulate you into believing that you are wrong for setting it in the first place. They will call you selfish, cold, or uncaring, all in an effort to make you question whether your limits are valid. The reality is, a narcissist benefits from your lack of boundaries. They thrive on your willingness to bend, to give in, to keep the peace at the cost of your own well-being. The more you allow, the more they take. The moment you say no more, they act as if you have betrayed them, not because you have done anything wrong, but because they can no longer use you in the way they once did. They will test you with small things first. A dismissive comment, an ignored request, a joke at your expense. If you let it slide, they push further. They do not believe in limits unless those limits serve them. They will demand space while taking away yours. They will expect respect while showing you none. And every time you let them cross a line, they take it as permission to step even further. At some point, you realize that boundaries are not just important, they are the only thing standing between you and the exhaustion of constantly being used. They are the difference between self-respect and self-sacrifice. They are the way you remind yourself that your needs matter, even when someone else refuses to acknowledge them. Without boundaries, you are left at the mercy of someone who only sees you as a resource, not as a person. The hardest part about setting boundaries with a narcissist is not enforcing them. It is dealing with the backlash. Because once you set a boundary, they will do everything in their power to break it. They will guilt trip, manipulate, play the victim, or even lash out. They will test your strength, hoping you will fold under the pressure. And if you have spent years accommodating them, that pressure can feel unbearable. A narcissist does not have to agree with your boundaries for them to be valid. They do not have to like them, respect them, or even acknowledge them. Because boundaries are not about them, they are about you. And the moment you stop waiting for their permission to protect your own peace, you take back the power they never wanted you to have. Every time you hold firm, every time you say this is not okay, every time you refuse to engage in their games, you are not hurting them. You are saving yourself. And in that process, you realize that boundaries were never about keeping others out. They were always about keeping yourself whole. Love is meant to be a two-way street. It is not meant to leave you drained, questioning your worth, or constantly trying to prove yourself. When you give, you should receive. Not in a transactional way, but in a way that acknowledges your efforts, your presence, your heart. But with a narcissist, that balance does not exist. You pour, they collect. You bend, they take. And no matter how much you give, it is never enough to make them satisfied, because satisfaction was never their goal. Control was. In a healthy relationship, love is a cycle of mutual care. There is a natural give and take, an unspoken agreement that both people are responsible for nurturing the connection. But with a narcissist, the cycle is broken. They expect you to give without question, to be available without hesitation, to meet their needs without ever expressing your own. And the moment you ask for the same in return, they act as if you are unreasonable, as if your need for love, attention, and support is an inconvenience rather than a natural part of any relationship. At first, you do not even notice the imbalance. You assume they just need more time, that they are going through something, that if you just show them enough love, they will eventually meet you halfway. You convince yourself that being patient, being understanding, being the bigger person will bring you the love and appreciation you deserve. But all it does is drain you. Because when someone is only focused on themselves, they do not see your efforts as love. They see them as a requirement. You find yourself constantly walking on eggshells, constantly adjusting, constantly trying to figure out what will finally make them happy. You start thinking that maybe if you say things differently, act differently, or need less, they will finally start to show up for you. But no matter how much you change, the outcome remains the same. Because a narcissist does not want reciprocity, they want control. They do not want to give back, they want to take without limits. The more exhausted you become, the more they blame you for it. They will tell you that you are too sensitive, too needy, too emotional. They will make you feel like the problem is not the fact that they refuse to give, it is the fact that you are tired of giving. And for a while you believe them. You start to wonder if maybe you are asking for too much, if maybe love really is supposed to feel like this, but deep down you know it isn't. True love does not leave you emotionally bankrupt. It does not leave you feeling unseen, unheard, or unappreciated. It does not require you to sacrifice your own needs just to keep the peace. And the longer you stay in a one-sided relationship, the more you lose yourself trying to fill a cup that will never be full. Because with a narcissist, the goalpost is always moving, the rules are always changing, and the moment you think you have given enough, they find a way to make you give more. You start to realize that the exhaustion you feel is not just from loving them, it is from constantly trying to earn a love that should have been freely given. It is from giving to someone who never intended to give back. It is from hoping that one day they will wake up and appreciate you, only to be met with more demands, more expectations, more selfishness. And no matter how much you care, no matter how much history you have, no matter how deeply you want things to be different, you cannot build a balanced relationship when the other person refuses to carry their share. You deserve more than exhaustion. You deserve more than empty words, broken promises, and temporary affection that only lasts when it benefits them. Love should not be something you constantly fight for. It should be something that is given to you as freely as you give it. Because real love, real connection, real partnership is not built on one person doing all the work while the other simply benefits from it. There comes a point when you realize that no matter how many times you explain, no matter how carefully you choose your words, no matter how much patience you offer, the person you are talking to is not interested in understanding you. A narcissist does not listen to learn, to grow, or to connect. They listen to respond, to twist, to invest. You can lay out your feelings as clearly as possible, and somehow they will still find a way to make it about them. You tell them how their actions hurt you, and instead of apologizing, they turn it around. Suddenly, they are the victim, and you are the one attacking them. You try to set boundaries, and they accuse you of being cold or distant. You express your needs, and they act as if you are unreasonable for having them in the first place. Every conversation feels like a battle you never signed up for, a fight to simply be heard, even when all you want is understanding. At first, you keep trying because you believe if you just explain it the right way, they will finally see your side. You think maybe if you stay calm, if you use logic, if you appeal to their emotions, they will realize how much you are hurting and make an effort to change. But the truth is they already know. They know how you feel. They know what they are doing. They just do not care enough to stop. A narcissist does not engage in conversations to find solutions. They engage to win. They will drag out an argument for hours just to exhaust you into giving up. They will pick apart your words, twist your intentions, and gaslight you into questioning your own reality. They will make you feel like no matter what you say, it is never the right thing, never the right tone, never enough to convince them of what they already refuse to acknowledge. You find yourself rehearsing conversations in your head, preparing for every possible way they might twist your words. You start over-explaining, over-justifying, trying to prove that your feelings are valid, that your perspective matters. But no matter how much effort you put into making them understand, they remain unchanged, unmoved, uninterested in anything that does not serve their own agenda. Eventually, you realize that the problem was never your ability to communicate, it was their refusal to listen. You were not dealing with someone who wanted to meet you halfway, you were dealing with someone who wanted control. They did not misunderstand you by accident, they misunderstood you on purpose. Because as long as they could keep you explaining, defending, and proving yourself, they could keep you right where they wanted you. Doubting yourself, second-guessing your worth, stuck in a cycle of trying to earn the basic respect they were never willing to give. You start to notice the pattern, the way they shift blame, the way they refuse to take responsibility, the way they always manage to walk away feeling justified while you are left feeling drained. You see how they dodge accountability, how they change the subject, how they turn every discussion into an attack on you. And you realize that explaining yourself to them has never been about fixing anything. It has only been about keeping you in a conversation that was never meant to go anywhere. When someone truly cares about you, you do not have to fight to be heard. You do not have to explain your feelings over and over just to have them dismissed. You do not have to beg for respect, for understanding, for the simple decency of being listened to. And the moment you stop explaining yourself to someone who refuses to listen, you free yourself from the endless cycle of trying to prove your worth to someone who was never willing to see it. For so long, you were taught that putting others first makes you a good person, that self-sacrifice is a sign of love, that being understanding means tolerating mistreatment, that patience means waiting for someone to change. You believed that if you just held on long enough, if you gave enough, if you loved enough, they would finally see your worth. But what no one told you is that constantly choosing someone else over yourself is not love. It is self-abandonment. A narcissist expects you to prioritize them at all costs. Their needs, their emotions, their problems always come first. You find yourself making excuses for them, adjusting your life around them, bending over backward just to keep them satisfied. And every time you try to reclaim a little space for yourself, they make you feel guilty for it. They act as if your independence is a betrayal, as if choosing yourself is an attack on them. At first, you tell yourself that compromise is part of love, that relationships require sacrifice. And while that is true, real love is about mutual effort, not one-sided exhaustion. But with a narcissist, the sacrifices are always yours. The apologies are always yours. The effort is always yours. And the moment you stop bending, the moment you start saying no, they act as if you have become the problem. They tell you that you have changed, that you are being difficult, that you are overreacting. They remind you of all the times they were there for you, as if keeping you emotionally trapped was ever a gift. They weaponize your kindness, your loyalty, your fear of being alone. They make you believe that choosing yourself means losing them, and for a while that fear keeps you stuck. But then you realize something. You realize that every time you put them first, you are putting yourself, that every time you let them cross a boundary, you are betraying yourself. That every time you give up a piece of yourself to keep them happy, you are the one left feeling empty. And the more you give, the more they take, until you no longer recognize the person staring back at you in the mirror. One day, the exhaustion outweighs the fear. You stop asking yourself what they will think, how they will react, whether they will still want you once you start standing up for yourself. You realize that your peace is worth more than their approval, that your happiness is worth more than their validation, that your survival depends on walking away from anything that requires you to shrink just to be loved. The world has conditioned you to believe that choosing yourself is selfish, that self-care is an act of defiance. But choosing yourself does not mean you are unkind, unloving, or unwilling to compromise. It simply means you are done setting yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. It means you are no longer willing to pour into people who only leave you empty. It means you are finally giving yourself the love you have spent so long begging someone else to give. The moment you choose yourself, everything shifts. The guilt fades, the fear loses its grip, and you start to realize that the love you were searching for was never in their hands. It was in yours all along.